Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to talk about a poem that was written in the Victorian era, and it was basically considered Stoicism or Stoic thought from a gentleman named Kipling. So to tell you a little bit about this publication, it was first seen in a publication called Brother Square Toes, a chapter of the book Rewards and Fairies, a collection of Kipling's poetry and short story fiction published in 1910. In his posthumously published autobiography, which means it was published after he died, Something of Myself, Kipling said that in writing the poem, he was inspired by the character of Leander Starr Jameson, the leader of the failed Jameson raid against the South African Republic to overthrow the Boer government of Paul Kruger. That failure, basically the failure of that mercenary group they taught, aggravated the political tensions between the United Kingdom and the Boers, which led to the Second Boer War, which was from 1899 to 1902. So I like this poem, and I think as young men, I think this is a poem that people should read and should study, because it says a lot to what we think on ambition and growing up and just that thought process. I remember the first time someone called me sir. And it was many years ago now, but at the time I thought, surely I'm not old enough to be a sir. Surely I don't look old enough to be a sir. But the young man called me a sir, and I responded appropriately and, told his father a great job at raising such a polite young man. But it definitely made me feel different after the fact. So if goes into a few things about that. It's a poem by English poet Rudyard Kipling. I don't know why I've had a hard time saying his first name today, who lived from 1865 to 1936. The poem was written expected around 1895 as a tribute to Leander Starr Jameson that we talked about. And basically the subject is a literary example of Victorian-era Stoicism. The poem was first published in Rewards and Fairies, which we talked about earlier, in 1910. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to read this poem, but this is a poem that's read by others that are much better than I. I think Michael Caine did a great version that's also available on YouTube, but I like to give a little history of where it came from. So the poem was received as an evocation of Victorian-era Stoicism, stiff upper lip, self-discipline, and popular culture rendered into British national virtue and character. Basically, the character trait means that you just keep going, keep a stiff upper lip, and get after it. Kipling said himself, the last year of his life, he wrote a note around the poem's ubiquity. Once started, the mechanism of the age made the verses snowball themselves in a way that startled me. Schools and places where they teach took them from the suffering young, which did not do me no good, it says, with Young when I met him later. Why'd you write that stuff? I had to write about it twice as the input, as the reception that it got. They were printed as cards to hang up in offices, bedrooms, laminated texts, and anglicized the weariness. 27 of the nations on earth translated this poem into their 27 tongues and printed them out of every sort of fabric. So as you can see, the poem was hugely well received and won international, attention very quickly. Which these days poetry doesn't have that kind of reception. Music does. So now modern musicians, even though most of them lack the aptitude to be called a poet, poetry doesn't do what it used to do, which unified thought across cultures, across countries. People could read something and understand what the person meant and what they were saying, and that made people feel like a better part of the whole. So let's get into the poem itself. This is If by Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or be lied about and don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves and make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings, and risk it in one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that is in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. This is one of my favorite poems. I think it goes through a bit around life in general. So we'll read through and I'll give some detail to what it's saying. So basically in business and interpersonal conflicts is where this poem talks to me the most. So let's dive into it a little bit. We'll get through it. I don't think this video will be too exceptionally long, but let's get through it. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. So basically keeping calm from a Stoic standpoint is a superpower. If you can stay calm when the world is falling, you can get through most any situation. And the modern world preys upon people here pretty greatly, trying to cause panic about everything and nothing. So keeping your head is the noble personification of an effort here. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, that means everyone else is doubting you, but you trust your abilities, you trust your work ethic, you trust your pattern, so you know you can depend on yourself, even if no one else acts like you're dependable. But make allowance for their doubting too. That means you understand why they doubt you, and you try to work on those areas of weakness to improve. It means you're not infallible. You have issues, but those issues you're gonna beat, you're gonna win, you're gonna get over. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, a lot in life is waiting, okay? The secret of life is live in the minute and enjoy life for what it is in the minute, because a lot of life is waiting. Some people, unfortunately, spend their whole lives waiting on something that never happens, and they don't enjoy the days up to that point, so the life doesn't give them the meaning they want or the fulfillment. So if you can wait and not be tired of waiting, or be lied about and don't deal in lies. So that means even though someone's bearing false witness against you and lying about you, you're not going to do the same. You're not going to stoop to their level. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. Basically in life, no matter who you are or where you are, somebody's going to hate you. Basically, the way I look at it is it's not my business what other people think or feel. So if someone hates you, don't give way to hating. Saying don't return that hate instead. Here's the thing about hating in groups, etc. You should judge life and the people you come across in life by the way they treat you as individuals. No one group can represent themselves completely. It's more about individuals than in groups. And yet you don't look too good nor talk too wise. It's basically saying you're not putting yourself on airs, you're not using the big words every opportunity you have them. Wisdom is important, but that's what it's talking about there. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, so dreaming's fine, but put a timeline on it so it becomes a goal. If you can think and not make thoughts your aim, so once again, put a timeline on it with exact results, so you're achieving something. If you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, so whether you win or lose, there's an education in that, right? The experience is what you're in life to get, so that's what that means. And imposters meaning you don't live in one or the other. Whether you win or lose, it depends on the day. No one's triumphant all the time. And you can use You can use examples across everything. Maybe you have an athlete that's incredible and doesn't get beat in his field, but maybe his family is atrocious. Maybe he's destroyed his family life or her family life, etc., etc. The point is, no one's perfect. Winning and losing is part of daily life. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, so you've spoken truth and you know it to be truth, twisted by knaves and made traps for fools. You hear people break that down and basically lie about it, use half-truths or partial of what you said to then create trap for fools, which means making people who don't understand fall for what they're saying versus what your actual truth is. This is an extremely well-practiced thing with politicians, actors, etc. Remember, all those people are getting paid, so they mislead you because it's how they get paid. So that's what that means, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools. Or watch the thing you gave your life to broken and stoop to build them up with worn out tools. It means when your world is broken and knocked down, those same tools that you use to build it up, you're going to stoop back down and build them up again. It's part of life. Things are going to collapse on you. Marriages, friendships, jobs, careers. Those things are going to be broken. That's just life. Everything depreciates and deteriorates with time. Everything. So that's what that means. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, basically it's saying if you can take everything you've ever been worth, if you have the attitude and you're not enslaved by that, and you can risk it all on one game, so one gamble is what that means, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word of loss. This means you start back over and you don't complain. It just is what it is. You're not going to be a victim to it. You're going to respond appropriately and keep on keeping on. That's all there is to do. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone. So basically it means everything in your being is going to support you into returning to the best state that you can. And so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. Basically, keep on going when there's no support, when you are alone. One of the things in Stoicism or in writings that are great about studying stuff like this is that the human condition, we are very alone. No matter how many people you're surrounded with, no matter how many family members you have, no matter how many friends you have, no matter how many followers now these days, you're still extremely alone. And that's why I say you need to focus on, depending on what your faith is, in Christianity, God focuses on that one soul. So you get the strength from within, from knowing that you have that relationship with Him. But whatever that will is, that's what it's talking about. That you dig in for that strength. You're not looking externally for it. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, basically, in a crowd, sometimes people lose what they believe, etc. They'll be impacted by a crowd, whether they're their peers or not. It's that tribe think or pack think. Basically, if you can talk with crowds but keep your virtue, which means you stay where you are fed steadfast in what you believe in, you don't let yourself be varied. Or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, which means, in my mind, it's two parts. In business specifically or in the world, and I use business as an example because that's the practice, but at the end of the day, you're talking about the person, that individual. You should be a chameleon. You should fit in every room. You should be able to fit in every room. So basically, you should be able to rub shoulder to shoulder with people that are, seen to be noble or royalty. I'm an American. I don't believe in royalty, but basically those world leaders, those kings, right, in their castles, and not lose the common touch, which means you still know the importance of the common voice. A small person, someone that feels small or thinks that they're small. There's no such thing as small people. No matter what you do, it doesn't matter what you do, it matters how you do it. You've heard me say those things before, but it means basically no matter who you talk to, you fit. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, all right, so if neither foes or loving friends can hurt you, here's the point. Foes intend to hurt you. Loving friends, betrayal is the most brutal thing a person can go through. Betrayal has to be done by someone that cares for you, that you care for. So that's what that means. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, which means everyone matters to you, individuals matter to you, but none too much. So you have no idols, you have nobody that you worship that's a human being. You're not following someone to the point that you'll do anything for that person. If all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, unforgiving minute means it doesn't stop. Time is flying. The one thing about death, this is some of the greatest things that I've read, is that life goes on. The sun comes up, the sun goes down, the world turns, right? So if you can feel an unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, meaning you're doing everything you can with every second you've got. Yours is the earth and everything that's in it. So you own the earth and everything in it if you can do these things. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son. So basically, when you've learned all these lessons, you are now a man, you're grown. Here's the point about these lessons. They haven't changed. They've been the same since 1910, since 1810, since 1710, since 1610, since 1510. They're the same in 2010, and they'll be the same in, 3010. This is the part of growing up. Technology and everything else aside, these feelings and this bit about staying in it is what matters. Great poem. I think there's a lot of wisdom to it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. It's gone a little bit longer than I thought. I was trying to cap these around 15 minutes. But that is Kipling's If. Came out in 1910. It's a fantastic poem. And if you look at the thumbnail, there'll be a copy of it there. I'm Ben. Be good.